Hey, everybody. So, today I want to talk about something that should hit home for everybody, whether you are a salesperson or you are the customer, or in my case, service provider, whatever, or anybody at all in your personal relationships. And that is making emotional decisions. When should you do it? When should you not? And, what issues can you have, by making emotional decisions? So, I myself am somebody who's always been somebody who led with his emotions, and I still do. Um, but in certain scenarios, it's not good. And that is when you're trying to figure something out. Whether you might be a customer trying to figure out which vendor to go to, or, you might even be a salesperson and, you're trying to figure out, what is the customer's real issue here? Because I'm hearing one thing here, somebody else saying something else, things like that. But also in your personal relationships at home, and with your friends and family, right? Because that's also, really emotional type, energy that you're getting from there. So again, I'm somebody who's always led with my emotions, and one thing I've learned throughout the years is that it's okay. It's okay to act on emotion. It's not always a bad thing. People will tell you it's a bad thing a lot of times, but it's not. But what is bad is to act on emotion when you're first learning some sort of news that, or you get some sort of piece of information that, you now need to reevaluate things. Okay. In those scenarios, you need to just totally cut out the emotion. You got to try your hardest and only think with your brain on this part. Okay. Because you need to look at both sides and then be able to make a decision based on what you've heard from both sides, okay? Because what happens a lot of times, and I get this, I've gotten this happen to me quite a few times, where I've been talking to a customer, everything's going great, perfect. And we're going down this road and, we're talking about, all these great things. And, it's looking like, they might be looking at purchasing some sort of, application for the network, whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden, they stop taking my phone call. And you're wondering, what's going on? Well, what happens most of the times is another vendor gets in there. And of course, they have their own agenda, right? Everyone's got their own agenda. That's the thing to remember here. Everyone has got their own agenda. That's why you got to talk to both sides. And so that person will say, well, the thing that Joe's selling or that Joe's talking about, here are the issues, blah, 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 blah. And, that might scare the other person or the customer and everything. But sometimes instead of coming to me to say, this is what so-and-so said, or you don't have to say who it was. You can just say, this is what I heard from somebody else or whatever. Can you tell me what is your side of it, right? And, if they would do that, then they could take the information I gave them. They could take the information the other person gave them. And then they could sort through it and figure out, okay, I have the facts now. Once you feel you have the facts, then now you can start looking at emotions, right? Now you can start looking at, emotionally looking at, I want to go here. This is where I want to go. I really like it. I have this gut feeling. It feels really good. But the most important thing is you got all your facts already, right? Because you didn't listen to just one side and then run from the other side, right? So even though you may not want to go to the other side, you have to go to the other side to find out what's going on and to let them have an opportunity to, respond to what, the other person said, right? So, that is very key. And that's very key in relationships, right? I've seen lots of people and friendships, really good friendships, because somebody else, came into that one person's life, or maybe it's somebody that you just happened to run into for the first time, in a store, or maybe whatever the case may be. And they start talking about, the other person that they've been, good friends with for a while. And all of a sudden, that other, that person who's trying to figure out what's going on, they get this emotion like they have to run, or they get this emotion like, oh my gosh, I can't talk to this other person, or I can't, I gotta put a wall up against that other person, and then they kind of run away, and without finding out what the other person's agenda was, right? Or situation, or whatever the case may be. Because again, remember, everybody's got an agenda. You have one too. You may not think it. You may go, I don't have an agenda, but you do. Whether your agenda is to go with the least cost solution, right? That's part of an agenda, right? Or like in a relationship type thing, an agenda might be, I want to, I don't want to deal with hard things that might come up by talking to the person that it's about, or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to just go the other way. And you just can't do that. Not during the decision-making process. That's the key part here, okay? During the decision-making process, you got to remove the emotions, and you got to talk to both sides. One person says one thing, you listen to them, right? Even if you don't really know them that well, it's always good to take everything in. Listen to them. They say something about the other person, or the other solution, or whatever the case may be, go to the other side. Now you got to be like, okay, I may have known you for a while or whatever, but this is what this person's saying, and I got to figure this out for myself. Then go ahead and make your emotional decision. Because at the end of the day, it's all about being happy. And being happy and excited is an emotion. Thanks. I'll talk to you later.